Whether you've always remembered it or not, since the Sunday before Advent, we have been working our way through the Gospel of John, learning a lot, I hope, along the way. We've talked about the way well, that sounded Canadian, didn't it? We've talked about the way that John, thank you, Darren, while writing, channels a biblical tradition of almost unbelievable imagination. We've talked about the way that John emphasizes closeness, physical mud spit in your eye, head on Jesus' chest, closeness. And we've talked about Jesus' use of I am statements to teach about that closeness. I am, a phrase that by the end of that story we realize is an expression of theophany, a declaration that Jesus is close and he came to be that close to us. And so today, to wrap up our study of John, Shanda and I are going to do a dramatic reading of one way we can understand the Gospel of John as a whole. It's an overview of the Gospel of John as seen through its beginning verses, through Jesus' I am statements, and through its final verses. I hope that it will help you to take a little bit more of John with you as we move on to other parts of the Bible. I hope it will help God to feel a little closer to you every time you read a verse from John or even flip by it in your Bible. And our prayer is that something from today's reading will give you something to bring with you out of the study of John, reminding you that God holds you tight and opens you up to possibilities beyond belief.
When I was asked to speak today, I took a little bit of time to really think about what peace meant to me. And so I kind of started looking around online and came across a story that really summed it up in a perfect way, so I wanted to share that. There once was an art contest in which everybody was challenged to paint the very best picture depicting peace. There were very many beautiful paintings, but in the end, the judge had to pick which one he liked the best. One was of a very calm lake. It was a peaceful mirror of the surrounding mountains with a clear blue sky and fluffy white clouds. Another one he liked had mountains too, but they were very rugged looking. And above was a very angry sky from which rain fell and lightning shot down. Down the side of one of the mountains tumbled a foaming waterfall. It didn't look very peaceful at all. But when the judge looked closely at this one, he saw a tiny bush growing in the crack of a rock. And in that bush, a bird had built a nest. The judge picked that second painting, and when he was asked why, he stated, "Peace does not mean to be in a place where there is no noise, no trouble, or no hard work. Peace means to be amidst all of those things and still be calm in your heart." And then that story made me think of a Bible verse in Philippians about God giving us that kind of peace. Philippians 4, verses 6-7. "Don't be anxious about anything, but rather bring your requests to God in prayer and petition, along with giving thanks. Then the peace of God that exceeds all understanding will keep your hearts and minds safe in Jesus Christ."
Time for kids. You could join me up here if you want to. As you're coming up, take a look around. Let me know if there's anything missing today. There. Oh, what was there? Oh. Oh, my. What's missing? Well, I have a letter. I have a letter here for you kids. I think it's for you. At least this is the way it's addressed. It says, "Small Humans, Albany Mennonite Church." And guess who it's from? Can you see who it's from? It says Lucia and Pablo. Well, let's see what it is. Oh, here they are. Must be a personalized card from them. Let's see what it says. Dear boys and girls at Albany Mennonite, we are on our way to a far country to help cheer up some children who are having a very tough time. We hope to visit you again when we finish our work here. Love, Lucia and Pablo. So now you know where they are. They're on their way somewhere. And today, we have a little, there's several things you can do. So what's this a picture of? Children and somebody. There's a bird, and then there's somebody that is supposed to be Jesus. And the kids are having a good time around him. So here's the thing about the last few Sundays, been talking a lot about how Jesus loved to have people close to him and really cared about them. So here's a few things you can do with this picture. You can pick one of those kids that you think might be like you and imagine yourself there. And maybe you could color their clothes some of your favorite colors, and maybe some other kids' clothes like your friends. So that's one thing you could do. These kids are pretty small. If you know that's too small for you, you could make your own picture of yourself, how you'd like to be in the picture with Jesus. And then finally, for those of you that are a little older and more into words, I have a challenge for you today. Do you remember the words that keep coming up in the last few weeks' sermons? Jesus saying things that were really strange, like, I am the vine. Well, he wasn't really a vine, but he was trying to tell them, I am the good shepherd. I am the bread. So here's the challenge. Today, during the sermon or the message or the drama that Peter and Shanda are going to do, take this on the backside and start making check marks every time you hear, I am. And then I'll compare notes with you afterwards and see if we caught all of them. Okay, Angie has the paper. Somebody could take this one if you wanted. And I'll talk to you after the service.
We're going to do a new song this morning, and Chris is going to help me with it. It's number 405 in your hymnal if you'd like to use that. Otherwise, I'd ask you to stand, but let me give you some directions first. This is a round. So Chris and I are going to sing it first so that you guys can hear how it goes. Then we'll all sing it together once. And then we're going to sing it 2 times in a round where we'll do half and half. So I'll start people on this side, and then Chris will start people on that side. So we'll sing the round through 2 times. And then to make it even crazier, we're going to do a round in 4 parts. So we kind of split down the middle and split down the middle there. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And I'll show 1 and 2 when to start, and Chris will show 3 and 4 when to start. And hopefully we'll all end up at the end after 4 times through. So believe it or not, Chris and I are going to keep track of how many times to do stuff, so you don't have to worry about that, all right? So why don't we stand together? All right, so here's how this goes. Listen to the word that God has spoken. Listen to the one who is close at hand. Listen to the voice that began creation. Listen even if you don't understand. Listen to the word that God has spoken. Listen to the one who is close at hand. Listen to the voice that began creation. Listen even if you don't understand. Listen to the words that God has spoken. Listen to the word that God has spoken. Listen to the voice that began creation. Listen to the voice that began creation. Listen even if you don't understand. Has spoken. Listen to the one who has spoken. Listen to the voice that began creation. Listen to the voice that began creation. Listen even if you don't
I'm going to be doing John's 1 through 5, the beginning, and then I'm going to be doing John 24 through 25, the end. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and without him not one thing came into being. What has come into being in him was life, and life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness does not overcome it. John's 20 through 24 and 25. This is the disciple who is testifying to those things and was written and has written them. And we know this is his testimony is true, but there are also many other things that Jesus did. If every one of them was written down, I suppose that the world itself could not contain the books that would be written.
An overview of the Gospel of John as seen through its beginning, its end, and all of its I am statements. The Gospel, according to John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and without him not one thing came into being. What has come into him, being in him, was life. And the life was the light of the people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness will not overcome it.
Hold up. The Gospel of John? Sounds more like the Gospel of nonsense. How is anyone supposed to keep up with all of this? There's a Word with God, and that Word is also like some sort of primordial mom that births everything. And then that primordial with God Word mom is also a light in the darkness. But that darkness is some sort of existential wrestling match with light. I think my imagination hit peak capacity about 3 metaphors back.
Well, hey, maybe that's the point.
To offend all the English teachers?
No, I mean, like, maybe the point is to give your imagination a jolt, to get it running faster than you thought it was allowed to run, to let your imagination expand beyond your Instapics, your Facebook feeds, your daydreams about whether Ryan Gosling is as dreamy in real life as he is on Twitter.
Oh, he is. Well, and actually Twitter's
Fine.
not his, like me.
But don't you want to be invited to think about something bigger for a hot second? I mean, take John here. He's steeped in a tradition of imagining the one thing that's farthest beyond our imaginations themselves, God, who, when we just try to imagine it, is so big that anything is possible. In this world where we can't imagine that our politics could get any better, in this world where we can't imagine that we could actually sacrifice some of our luxury, live in better harmony with the earth, and be better for it, in this world where we can't imagine our way out of a system that will make it harder for our black kids' friends to succeed as much as our white kids might, in this world where it doesn't seem like we can imagine any solutions that would actually work, God, by just existing, invites us into a relationship that would blow our minds, blow wide open the possibilities.
But What? Why has he got to talk like that?
What? What do you mean?
John, can't he just be a little clearer?
I mean, maybe the method's part of the holy madness. I mean, it goes way back, right? John is writing as one who is in a tradition of trying to describe God. Like this. Take this, for example. You mentioned all the metaphors, right? Well, John is steeped in a tradition full of all kinds of ways of trying to describe God. Like, take that first one. In the beginning was the Word. He's referring back to the Psalms, to Psalm 33:7, actually, where it says, by the word of the Lord the heavens were made, by the Word. And those Psalms inspiring John are themselves on fire with imagination. Just check out the next verse. He gathered the waters of the sea like he was putting them in a bottle, and then he took all the depths of all the seas and put them on a shelf in his storehouse. Right? Maybe the point is that our minds need to get blown a little bit.
Okay, I get your point, but could you also maybe get to John's point? I mean, yes, okay, my mind has been blown by the existence of this primordial with God word mom who is also light, but what's the point?
Okay, fine. How about this? We were once really close to God, then we weren't. Then God sent to us the one who had always been as close as possible to God, so that he, the one, could be as close as possible to us, and we could be as close as possible to God again.
Like this close?
What do you mean?
I mean, like close as we are now. Like I'm the primordial word mother of the world, and I landed here to be close to you.
I mean, I'd say even closer, but just hold up. We're like 3 minutes in now, and I haven't even gotten past John 1, verse 5 yet. So just a second. Let me get the intro down. He, the one, was in the world, and the world came into being through him, yet the world did not know him. He came to what was his own, and his own people did not accept him. But to all those who received him, who believed in his name, he gave power to become children of God, who were born not of blood or of the will of the flesh or the will of humans, but of God.
So like this close?
I mean, I'd say God came to be even closer, but let me finish. And the Word became flesh and lived among us, and we have seen the glory of as a Father's only Son, full of grace and truth, from his faithfulness.
So like this close, then?
From his faithfulness. We have all received grace upon grace. No one has ever seen God. It is God, the only Son, who is close to the Father's heart.
So like this close? It's too close.
It is God, the only Son, who is close to the Father's heart, who has made him known. Yes, that close.
But you're saying it wasn't always like this close?
Well, in the beginning, it was this close. You know, Adam and Eve in the garden walking, but maybe like side by side, not nose to nose.
Okay, but then they weren't so close.
Right. In the beginning, God created us in order to hold us tight, to know us, to be known, but we wanted to make names for ourselves, so we pulled away.
Ah, that's Adam and Eve, like in the bushes, right?
Yeah, that is.
Okay. But then God tried again, right?
Generations later, God tried again. To Moses, the offspring of a broken and enslaved people, God showed up as a burning bush.
So then God was close again.
Closer, but distance remained.
Okay. Because Moses hid his face.
Yeah, but God was like, I'm here in this bush to set you free. I'm here to set all you broken and enslaved people free.
But Moses didn't even know God's name.
I mean, to be fair, no one did.
Right. So that's the part where Moses was like, who exactly am I supposed to say told me all this?
Right. And God said,
I am who I am.
Bingo, I am who I am, God replied. Carry my message of liberation back to my enslaved people, but tell them that I am has sent you.
And so Moses did that.
Yeah, but distance remained.
The golden calf
Yep.
And they ignored widows
Yep.
and disrespected foreigners,
Yep.
exploited the poor,
Yep.
created an inhumane and profit-centered healthcare system, leaving the most vulnerable without, and ensuring that Joe's surgery was delayed about 1 million times.
I mean, that's extremely specific and chronologically inaccurate, but sure.
So basically, though, a bunch of God's people took everything that God had given them and used it to try to be better than everyone else.
Exactly. They took what I am had given to them,
Okay.
and then rather than remember that name so that they could remember that everything they had was a gift, they tried to make names for themselves.
And so they ended up in exile.
Right. Eventually, Moses' descendants found themselves so far from home that they didn't even know if God's presence could stretch that far.
But some of them did eventually make it home.
Yeah. Some of them stagger home. Some of them did eventually stagger home.
It sounds like they weren't very good at being close to God.
I mean, they were who they were.
So then,
Well, that's when I am who I am happened again.
well, I thought that's when the primordial with God word mom, who's also a light, who is supposed to blow my imagination, happened.
Right. Well, yeah, that's Jesus, and that's how John introduces him at first, but eventually he introduces himself as I am over and over. I mean, at first you might not catch it. It just sounds like the way he likes to start a lot of sentences.
Right, like I am the light of the world. John's intro.
Yep. And I am the gate.
And I am the good shepherd.
I am the resurrection,
I am the way,
the truth.
the life.
Right. So those who listened humbly, those who weren't still busy trying to make names for themselves, could hear it. They could hear God's own name.
Because of Jesus, they could feel God with them.
Exactly. I am had drawn close. The Creator hadn't been this close since the dawn of creation.
And finally, they could once again feel how tightly they were held.
Yeah. But right as they began to savor that embrace, Jesus announced that it was time for him to go.
And they begged,
Yeah, they denied it could happen.
and that Peter guy made outrageous promises about how he'd prevent Jesus from being taken away.
Yep, but I am didn't alter course. And I am also reassured. I am the vine, and you are the branches. I will abide in you, and you will abide in me. Even though I go, our closeness has been restored, and this time it cannot go away.
Wasn't he the bread of life or something?
Yeah, sure. I guess we did miss that one.
You can't miss that one.
Why not?
Because think about it. That's the whole point. I am the bread of life. I mean, we eat that bread every time we take communion. And so it's like God is so close that God is inside of us, close like bread in your hand, close like a cup against your skin, close like fresh bread in your mouth, like rich wine on your palate, close like a meal filling your belly, sustaining you, giving you life.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, what's the point?
What do you mean, what's the point? You just told me the point yourself. John tells us that through Jesus, I am, God came down to us so that God could be close to us.
Okay, I mean, great. God's close to us. But what does this closeness mean?
Maybe it means we should wear deodorant and brush our teeth and, like, definitely keep our feet presentable. Did I tell you what I am does when he gets close to your feet?
I mean it. What does it mean for the worried widow who's not sure if anyone cares about her? For the parents of Trayvon Martin and Patrick Lyoya? For the earth that's groaning under the weight of our waste? For everyone who's suffering and who's going to suffer? We just tell them, oh, don't worry, God is close.
I don't know what to tell you.
Or maybe it means that since God is with us, this stuff can be fixed. It can be healed. It can be reconciled. It can be redeemed. Maybe it means that if we believe God is actually close to us, we can pray trusting that talking to God can restore our self-worth. We can stand up for what's right, believing that because God is here, it will actually make a difference. We can work for a world that we thought was only possible in our imaginations, because if God is with us, then all things are possible. Jesus said, I am the bread of the world, eat. And then at the end of it all, he tells Peter, now go feed everyone.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
That.
it's like the words God spoke to create everything were also God's Son, right there, close as can be to God. And that Son came down and to be close to us so that we could be close to God, so that the Son could shine a light for us to follow, walking with us, but shining a light on the path, down the twists and turns we should take at every fork in the road, showing us the way forward that we couldn't see because we were lost in the dark maze that is this world, not even sure if we should be looking for a right path anymore.
Okay, but now what's your point?
It's not my point. I think it's John's. We were once really close to God, and then we weren't. And then God sent to us, the one who had always been as close as possible to God, so that one could be as close as possible to us, so that we would be as close as possible to God again. And when we experience that, when we put our faith in and we trust that, we can pray trusting that talking to God can restore our self-worth. We can stand up for what's right, believing that because God's here, it will actually make a difference. We can work for a world that we thought was only possible in our imaginations, because if God is here with us, all things are possible. The point is that God restored closeness with us so that all kinds of possibilities can be opened for us. Possibilities we otherwise are like, that's not possible. Restorative, reconciling knowledge and ways of living that could never work, except that if God rose from the dead,
Then they could.
then they could.
Wow. Now that's a lot.
That's a lot. I mean, just imagine what difference it could make. Do you know how the whole Gospel of John ends?
I think so, but I was actually still back in chapter 1 when you interrupted me, so I'm
No, I got this. John 21:25, the very last verse in John's Gospel. But there are also many other things that Jesus did. If every one of them were written down, I suppose the world itself could not contain the books that would be written.
Okay, actually, that one doesn't really make sense to me. I mean, sure, Jesus did a lot, but he was only on earth for like 33 years. There's only so much you could...
No, you don't get it. Open up your imagination a little bit. John is writing this stuff like decades later. So yes, Jesus ascended back to heaven, but Jesus also stayed with them, abided with them. And John is writing from all those decades later, thinking of every single thing that Jesus, that knowing that God is close, has done for him and for everyone else who knows Jesus. And John wants us to look to the future that way too, to open up our imaginations. Let's try this. Switch that last verse to present and future tense. But there are also many other things that Jesus does and will do If every one of them were written down, I suppose the world itself could not contain the books that would be written. Just think about what that means for how we can be healed in our relationships with God, how we can work for restoration and reconciliation in the places in this world where we have given up hope, for how we can keep trying even when we fail without despair, knowing that there are more ways God can write the story with us, that there are always more ways that God can and will work with us right here with us to bring light into the world's darkness. But there are also
many other things
that Jesus did,
that Jesus does.
that Jesus will do.
If every one of them were written down, I suppose that the world itself
Could not contain the books that
were
would be written.
Wow. Imagine the possibilities.
Imagine.
Let's stand together to do number 282, Come and See. Number 282, we'll sing 3 verses, but if you want to sing 1, 2, and then 2 again, that works fine. I'll sing the descant the 3rd time through. In case Latin is not your first language, and you need a little refresher on pronunciation, I'll say the word, then you say it back to me. Kyrie, eleison, Christe, eleison. Yay.
Okay, kids, if you've colored anything or made anything that you want to share with us as your offering for today, we're going to start our time of offering. When I'm done praying, you can meet me over there, and we'll gather them all together. Let's pray. Generous God, we take all of our gifts today, our children's abundant creativity, the contributions of all participants in this service, the blessing of the simple presence of each person here today, and any contributions of time and money that will be shared, and offer all of it to one another, to our community and our world. Through you, God, the giver of all good things. Amen. And now, as you go from here, as we close our study of the gospel according to John, may you feel God close, really, really close, saying, I am the vine and the branches, I will abide with you. I am the bread of life, eat and then go feed my sheep. I am with you until the end of time, opening you up to possibilities beyond your wildest imagination. May God bless you and keep you. May God make God's face to shine on you and give you peace. Amen.